Hi, I'm Katie Marie, and this is my big family. That's me right there. So I'm going to read everything because everything has to be fact based. I can't give you any opinions or, intimate feelings about my opinions toward any matters that have happened in my life for legal reasons. So I'll just read it to you. I'll tell you what it was like growing up with my wonderful mom, dad, sisters, and brothers. I love my family. So diverse, different colors, different religions. I, for one, had an eating disorder. My parents raised us all well, and all in all, I've already lived a great life. I had my own car by the time I was 16. It was fully loaded British Honda. I even got my actual driver's license on my 16th birthday. I was on the honor roll, and at the time, honor roll students were always listed in the local newspaper. I studied interior design under my mom. I also took up a 4-year architecture program in high school. In my age group, I won the Chicago Sun-Times Award to redesign Meigs Field. I was 15. I had the only design of all the entries to incorporate wheelchair accessibility into my design. I applied to the University of Illinois at Champaign-Urbana, and I was accepted into their School of Liberal Arts and Sciences. I was stoked. Later, I got pregnant with my first child at 19. I was a virgin until I got pregnant. I then moved to Georgia to attend Southern Polytech State University, School of Architecture. I lived with my oldest sister during this time. That was a long time ago. I am currently a junior and have been for about 6 years. So I know y'all want to know what happened. I used to have my own apartment. I always had jobs in engineering and design and architecture industries. This was in my 20s lifestyle. I built some really solid professional relationships over the years. My life was unmanageable though because the things I had wanted to do just didn't get jive with the things that I needed to do. I admit I'd spoiled myself. I mean, just think, I'm young, in my 20s, single, with a beautiful daughter, and a really good career. I was wild, but not in a grotesque kind of way, more like a worldly wild. I just did what I wanted. I'll let you know now. I've become homeless 3 times throughout my life. The first time I became homeless, I was 25. I made a decision to give up my apartment and the single life to move in with my boyfriend. I started my own drafting design business, and I had a lot of friends that owned construction design firms, so I was able to work from home. It went well for a while until, for whatever reasons, we fell apart. Fell out of love, and I left. Of course, I had no place to go. I had to let my oldest sister take care of my daughter until I got back on my feet. I eventually found a regular job at another design firm. I was able to obtain my own housing once again. And the second time I became homeless was when I got caught up in doing what I wanted again. I hooked up with a drug dealer, moved him in, and eventually I started using. We became pregnant as a way for me to stop using drugs, and it worked, only it was too late. I lost my job due to a horrible attendance record. When I lost my job, I lost my income. When I lost my income, I lost my housing. I was 30, and again, I had to let my oldest sister care for my daughter. I went to a facility which helps homeless women and children, so I had a place to live and was able to care for my new baby. I worked through the program from classes to job search. I found a job with Waffle House. They were so understanding. I learned to cook, serve, expedite orders, and manage a store. I found permanent housing and eventually got my oldest daughter back home with me. I made the mistake of marrying my youngest daughter's dad in order to keep him from being homeless. Marriage was the only legal way to move him in with me. He became very abusive and almost stabbed me as I was backed into a corner on the floor, terrified. He was convinced I stole his laptop that I bought for him the day I purchased his and her laptops and his and her phones. I forfeited my housing because I was in a very abusive relationship. I lost my housing, but became free from abuse. I quit my wonderful job too because he worked there. I became homeless once again and had to put my children in somebody else's care once again. Are some of you asking what it's like now? Well, being homeless for me was a certain freedom, but by this time I had two children and I missed them both so bad that I actually had delusions that they had disappeared somewhere and that I couldn't find them. I wasn't even looking for them, and I knew where they were both at, but I was just delusional. I also had delusions that my abuser was hiding behind trees at night when I walked, that he was still out to get me. That part may or may not have been true, but I'll never know. That's just what I thought. I was very delusional. I've done some things. I went to a store one early morning and took some money from a Waffle House unit that I never worked at. My plan was to pay the store back when the bank opened, and I did. When I arrived at the unit, I handed the manager the money and confirmed with the police that it was me. I went to jail and paid restitution. I often reminisce about my job with Waffle House. I became a master grill operator, a certified expediter, and a utility manager. Within the 4 years of my employment, I would often run a unit when the store was between managers. My personal goal would be to manage day to day work and regroup the office and inventory so that the store would be manager ready. I loved my customers and they loved me. Often paid employees from my own pocket as an initiative to deep clean the store prior to the health inspection. I brought I brought two units from a D grade to an A grade. That was the most rewarding job I've ever had. When I was homeless, jail was my refuge. A shower, hot meals, and a comfortable bed. Those things I took for granted when I wasn't homeless. Whenever I was arrested, usually for trespassing or panhandling or something like that, I always cooperated. I felt really safe with the police. But one day, I was walking away from my grandma's house when I saw my friend in his wheelchair waiting for me at the corner. Such a sweet friend. He's so sweet. He asked me to help him get some food out of the store. He had some food stamps but couldn't really navigate through the narrow aisles, of the store. We went to Chevron Food Mart. This day was particularly different. Prior to this trip, I made an earlier trip to the dumpster down the road near the auto repair shop. I had seen a nice outfit, almost new, sitting right on top of all that trash. I picked it out and put it on. I thought I looked fresh, you know. I even had a little pep in my step. When I walked inside the Chevron Food Mart, I waved at the folks playing lottery. They always made my day as they waved back. I turned toward the counter at the lady on duty. She was unusually flustered and red in the face. To me, she looked frightened. The store had been robbed at gunpoint before, and I was shopping at the time. I saw the whole thing, and it scared me. So I turned to the back room exit and bathroom as I had seen the robbers go there the day of the robbery. I didn't see anything suspicious, so I turned back to her, wondering what was wrong with her. I was it was a quiet moment, and I saw an officer walk into the store. As I started to leave as I started to leave, the officer struck my legs. I fell from extreme shock. It was so painful, but the hitting didn't stop. Fear came over me. He said he'd shoot me. Every now and then I'd look at him to make sure it wasn't my abuser. It wasn't. It was a police officer. I remember in my head being like, no, not the face, not the face. It hurt so bad, and it still does. Don't laugh. I've seen the video. It's so humiliating. With my legs flailing in the air. It was very embarrassing. So, yes, I'm that girl. And I quote in those news, people on the news would tell everybody that old homeless lady. I don't know where they're getting that from. I was 37 at the time. I'm 42 now. But They said that homeless people are hard to deal with. I would assume that whether you're homeless or not, there are some people in this world who are very hard to deal with. Okay, so I agree with that. But you can't say all homeless people are hard to deal with because really, I wasn't really doing anything. So you have to be careful what the news says. The news can really exaggerate a whole lot and make themselves look good. But that day, they made themselves look really bad because a lot of my supporters were behind me about what that man said, that it wasn't right. And I believe they removed it from the internet. So I'd have to say that the comment was the most frustrating part of the video. So just so y'all know, any charges I had were dropped and justice was done. I would like to add that this police officer was just one of many outstanding officers in the fine county of DeKalb. I don't know what became of that officer. I only hope that he gets the help he needs for doing something like that to another human being. I must say, today I have major post-traumatic stress disorder, according to Georgia Regional Hospital. All I know is that twice in my life, two different men beat me really bad for doing nothing wrong. One man was black and one man was white. Frankly, I can honestly say that I'm scared of men, period. But I still respect them as a human. For the record, I am no saint, y'all. I just try to grow from my experience. Thank you.